What work?
Slaughterhouse videos.
Oh.
I will admit, I was 26 years old before I realized that meat was a dead animal. It was a piece of thing in the store, and you just took the chicken and you cooked it, and I never thought of it. But then when I read the Gospel of Peace, it would just, wow, it's a dead animal's body. I only ate meat 3 times after that, and there's specific stories behind it. But then I just got sick of people well, the first 2 times I did it because I got drunk. Okay, that was in the beginning, long time ago, 14 years ago. Okay, and then there was one time this family member pressured me into it just to get him to shut up and leave me alone. It's like all this story. Why can't you eat? When I was a kid, we only had beans and dandelion greens. Now you're just ordering broccoli. It's shining that light on their inability to see, you know, and then they get really unwell. I just took a piece of chicken. Now will you just shut up, you know? And you know, and they did. But that was the last. It was a piece of chicken at a Chinese restaurant, maybe 12 years ago or something. And I have no desire for animal flesh, which is very stimulating for the teens that are still here. The flesh is stimulating. And when you pull that away, you've got a lifetime of stimulation, adrenal stimulation, blood stimulation, mental stimulation from meat, and you pull that away from people and they're tired. Their body's used to it. You have to get used to the vital energy of the brain and nerves flowing through the system and being well-regulated and controlled. And then the food that we eat is a chemical stimulation. But you want to live more from the vital, which is the prana. But you got to understand too, for people, our environments suck. I mean, you live in New York City, there is no prana. There's only soot in your lungs. So you make up for that by food. Like if you go to New York, they are foodies, big time. Like let's go to the restaurant for breakfast, let's go to the restaurant for lunch, let's go to breakfast for a snack, let's go to the restaurant for dinner, let's go to for a midnight dinner and get a glass of wine. I mean, they food because there's no prana. So they gotta stay propped up with the food. And food is the chemical prop for most of us who are neurologically tired. Our nerves are shot. So we go to sleep in the woods for a couple weeks to detox and eat some green juices and watermelons. We can get our nerves back, we can get the vital flow again through our bodies, and then we can use just small amounts of chemical stimulation. The cleaner you are, the less you need to eat. And the cleaner the environment, the less you need to eat. So we need to be compassionate and understanding and educate ourselves so that we can be gentle and kind and compassionate and live our lives in a way that is just you shine. And then you just say, and let them come to you. You say, well, I'm a fruitarian, raw vegan, and I eat really clean, and I love to exercise, and I'll show you sometime if you want, you know, and you don't, the preaching thing is holier than thou. You want to punch someone in their head when they do that to you, you know, and it's not going to work. It's going to be this loving, you shine so bright. Like, that's why I love YouTube. It's like, you can watch these videos or not, but I'm not going to come knocking on your door wasting my time. You can come knocking on my door and watch the YouTube videos. If you dig it, you dig it. If you don't, you don't. It's cool, right? So you don't have to go preaching anymore, door to door, you know what I mean? Trying to get people to, because what that is always people trying to, that don't really believe it themselves. Like you get the religious nuts. If they knew that was the truth, they wouldn't have to convert you to believing to give them more power. They would just know it. If you were the only person in the world that knew that fruitarianism and deep breathing and solitude and silence and self-love was the ultimate path, then you need to believe in that and know it. And if you're the only one, good enough. All right? Lisa, until we get kicked out, I guess we're welcome to stay and you're welcome to ask questions. I'm enjoying this talk immensely. Thank you, Matea.
And I have got another question on behalf of the teens. You know, on their kitchen counter, they're maybe 13, 14 years old, and they've got a fruit bowl with maybe a banana or an apple or one orange in it. What would you suggest they do to tell mum and dad, what, you know, like day one, what could they do for day?
That's a brilliant question. Thank you for bringing that up.
A moldy bunch of grapes in a bowl. Where do they go?
You know, for the moms and dads that are still watching, and for the teenagers, just keep the fruit fresh. You know, go get some fresh organic grapes. Keep the bananas on the counter, and when they're starting to sparkle with the brown, that's when they're the best. Learn to make smoothies, and always start with raw. This is one thing that's ingenious here, is that never tell the inner child they can't have a cookie or a piece of meat or a cheeseburger, because they're going to fight it, and then it's going to. What does a kid want when you tell them no? They want it more. So you never say no to the cookie. You can have the cookie, but you just decide, you know what? Just eat a couple bananas first. And you know what? You'll usually find, or grapes, or have a salad first, and then you could run down to the fast food joint and get a cheeseburger. But you start training your body. You start realizing that, wow, that salad was epic. A couple of avocados, whatever, some soaked nuts to get you so you have that feeling at first. But fresh fruit. If there's kids, if there's teenagers, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, 1 table of fruit, 1 table of vegetables. Which table is going to be empty first? The colorful, delicious, sweet, ripe, juicy. Then you got the green stuff, which as adults we learn to love to chew on. We use for medicine, we use for alkalinity, and we also use for the nitrogenous properties that are absorbed through the chlorophyll. Because you build, look at a cow, it eats grass all day. Go get kicked by a cow. Go wrestle a gorilla that just eats the most simple food. And you'll understand. Go race a horse, you know what I mean? Bye-bye, you lost already. You know, and they just eat grass. You know what I'm saying? And so they're breathing, they're breatharians too. Chewing on this for chemical stimulation, fun, to chill out, have something to do, chew on grass all day. What else are you going to do if you're a horse? You get to hump maybe once a week. You know, and then the female, so the stud goes around and he gets to do that, and be a perfect human life, right? Not the teens, though. Wait till you're married. What's up, Rob?
One question, which is a little bit sensitive, maybe. There's a lot of teens in my family who all grew up on cold cuts, meat and dairy, of course. And they started their sexual life very early, like 11 years old. And those experiences, I'm seeing it now, because now they've grown up, damage them to the point that they cannot keep the regular family, that they keep looking outside of this some kind of refinement, and they can never find it. So you see those lives that they are broken with. With that kind of lifestyle. I
wish I was going to have Natea chime in a little bit more, but that one's something I should answer because this is important. We're feeding our kids flesh foods. It's very stimulating, particularly on the centers of the brain as well as the reproductive organs. And what happens in our society is that everyone eats the meat. So you've got these super hyper growing up kids, and then here's all the meat kids, and then you see the vegetarian kids. Well, I don't even like vegetarianism, you know, because even the grains and stuff, the vegetarians aren't much healthier than the meat eaters. In fact, sometimes in certain ways, grains are worse than meat, okay? That's just on the body, if you look at the science behind it. But I'm talking about the stimulation of the sexual organs is enhanced dramatically by the consumption of flesh foods. So the bodies are growing a lot faster because of the stimulating properties of the food. So they're developing faster, but they're not developing as completely as like a fruitarian vegan child would. The process would be much more slowly. It would be much more complete and much more thorough. Does that make sense? So that yes, a child that's on the more natural foods is going to grow more slowly and not be as large, but wait till later on when all those health problems, look at our society. I get more health emails than anybody, hundreds a day. And I see what everyone's going through, and it's all the same. We're just decomposing, fermenting, rotting, pus, mucus, inflammation, overeating, just heaviness. And if we can clean it up and get the blood clean, our mind will clear up. I mean, I know what it's like to have suicidal depression, sitting next to the river wishing you had the guts to pull the trigger because it's so hopeless. And a lot of that came from drugs and bad food. Of course, I didn't know that then, but I know it now because even though I am still very human and have experiences in my heart that aren't always super pleasant, it's like the thought of ending this thing, this is way too epic. You know what I mean? It's like I'm excited. I'm 40 years young and I'm excited about today. Lifting some weights, hanging out with some people, talking, refining my ability to listen more, connect more deeply. I mean, you get alive and you want to live and you know that this is so precious and you got 2 seconds to do something that's going to make something count. And so there could be 500 haters and 1 lover. And for that lover, you show up on YouTube and you do your work and you share who you are for real with the world. Because it takes courage to show up to this life, but it's short and it's precious. You know what I mean? So let's make it count.
I think you really kind of learn to respect yourself and your body more so. Because I know, like me, I'm waiting until I'm married. I'm committed to that and everything. But
I did.
And
When I was 29.
That's awesome. I highly recommend that if there's any teens.
No
I keep
pressure.
thinking, how could there be any teens left? But that is...
My message is clear.
I highly recommend that. And I recommend just being very, very aware of that part of life. And that's why when the meat is too much, the kids, they get, before their brains can handle it, they're ready to go, baby.
Yeah,
you know?
beautiful kids. You know, the thing is they are beautiful kids, but they, you know, they can function.
Yeah.
Look at the mall. Look at the mall. You go to the mall and you're shopping and you're shopping and you're shopping for stuff you don't need. And then you have to eat. And what's there available? Donuts.
What about airports?
Cinnamon buns.
You get almonds and bananas. You can find those little packages of probably pasteurized almonds, so you can't eat that anyway.
Bananas, what, $4 for a green banana?
And they're green. You're like, hurry up and ripen, hurry up and ripen, hurry up and ripen. Get on the plane, hurry up and ripen. Get a brown paper bag, put it in the sun. So, any other questions for Natea?
oh, I saw you had a question a couple times.
Did you make any of your friends turn into this lifestyle or at least start thinking of it?
Yeah, actually I did. I have this one Russian friend and she's super cool. Her name's Alina, and I just remember at the beginning of the school year she used to bring like brownies and cookies and things like that, and she's beautiful and you know everything, but she really started kind of getting into it, and instead of brownies and cookies she started bringing like bananas and going to Trader Joe's and things like that, and I was like, you have food I can eat. And we would have like parties in the gym locker room before class and things like that, and it was great. And I've actually kind of inspired some guys are like, I'll totally go vegan for you. No, they don't, but you know, you plant the seeds and then they're kind of like, huh, you know, and they kind of...
You do it, you have more of a circle of friends that you can hang out with.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is great. It's really nice to have more of a foundation, kind of, rather than being on your own and things like that.
I think the teens should, out there watching, should find a buddy. Like, let's do this together. Let's have a couple bananas before we eat our sandwich. And make it into a party. Make it into something fun. Like, I'll have an orange juice party with anybody. Or a coconut juice party anytime. You know what I mean? Or a mango parties, fig parties. Those are fun. Because you don't go away regretting anything. You know?
But what I noticed also is kind of like with kids. Just to spread the word, you know, like for example, my friends would tell me, oh, we're going to a barbecue, come with us. And they would make like some kind of joke. Oh, but you know you don't need all this stuff. You know, like all you need. And I would come there and I would bring so much raw food, so many sauce. I would make it extra special, look nice and pretty, and I would make so much variety. And when I put it on the table, they'll be like, wow, this stuff looks nice.
Yeah.
And they will
They
try
know it.
stuff. They will start like talking about this. And actually turn a lot of people into first, like some people turn to vegetarians, some people turn to vegans.
That's how you do it. You show up to the barbecue with the gray meat, and then you bring this big salad with red peppers and yellow peppers and tomatoes and cucumbers, and you make like a
Berry salad.
avocado orange dressing, and they're like, I've seen it a million times, you know, and they're like tacos, raw tacos with walnut taco meat, and they love it.
Yeah.
And it's so epic, and people are like, I've been to a couple raw restaurants and it was terrible, but man, you've converted me today. So it's the colorful foods. Keep bringing those foods to your lunch. That's why the more DVDs I sell, the better she eats. That's a mathematical equation I figured out. That's why. Why is Dan pushing the DVDs so much? Because the more DVDs I sell, the better they get to eat. And that means that I will put my ass on the line every day of the week. And I will bust my ass to make more money, because that is what enabled them to eat better. It's an expensive lifestyle, except when you start having to pay the doctor bills and you wish you would have took the 99-cent cheeseburger and spent $3 on bananas instead and made a smoothie. So it's the long term, but you're also more productive on this diet. And then you don't even think in terms of money, because you become so creative and so energetic. It's like, when do I run out of energy? Never. It's always there. I wake up in the morning, I'm stoked. I go to bed, I'm stoked when I go to bed. I got to force myself to sleep. You know what I mean? So I have so much creativity and ability to create more abundance that the whole food thing becomes
And even material
irrelevant.
things. Even material things become less and less because you're so much happier.
Simplify your life.
But you got to convince your ex-wife and your 2 daughters to love to shop, and your girlfriend of that too. Come on, let's all go into the woods and meditate. No, I'd rather go to the mall, Dad. Can I just have the credit card? You don't need to come. So please buy my DVDs. Please help me. I gotta feed my starving children.
Is the other daughter raw vegan?
Oh no. Oh God.
Hey, be nice. She's working on it.
This is important because I have a son who is not vegan at all. So how does that work in your life? Because she has the brother who's like, you militant vegan, and we don't say anything to him.
You're not militant?
No.
Because there's
No,
one thing
all
about
I
a loving vegan, and then the militant vegans make me want to puke all over the
Absolutely
place.
not. Absolutely not.
I hate you for your food choices. Anger, violence, fear. And you're like, whoa, you're just, you're worse than the guy who's slitting the throats of the pigs.
Right.
You just made me feel sick. I'd rather watch videos of pigs getting their throats cut
Yeah.
than listen to you.
Yeah.
You have to change that,
Yeah.
because you're making it impossible for people to become vegans.
Yeah.
They will never want to be like
him.
you.
We've said nothing to him. I buy
Okay.
food. I buy whatever he wants.
All right. And
So
so
he ends up
it's his
eating-
own.
It's his own thing. He eats his food and then he eats our food.
How long have you guys been doing it?
2 years.
Okay, and has he seen any results in your life?
Yes.
Energy, weight loss,
Yes.
better skin?
Yep.
My
Keep going.
sister, she says things like, I'll probably go vegan someday. But for me, it was kind of like I started gaining weight and I was breaking out horribly, and I looked like crap, and it was nice having boobs for a short time, but I mean, I don't know. And so she's beautiful, and she wears a lot of makeup and everything still, and so
How old is she?
she's 14. She just turned 14 like a couple weeks ago, like 2-3 weeks, but she just, she kind of tries, and she's like, I want to start eating healthier, but she also has had like a lot of times where I know, because I've been into this kind of thing for a while, and I've always embraced it more, but she's more like closed-minded. And I remember this one time, not this past spring break, but the spring break before that, she got so frustrated because we didn't have anything to eat, and sorry, this is really frustrating, this little fly. Anyway, and she, I don't know, I think she took like $4 and change from somewhere, I don't know, and she went and bought Cheetos and like stuff, and I don't know, she was crying, she was like, you all are freaks, and she was so upset and frustrated, and I was like, sis, and she just, I don't know, but she's learning, and she knows that this is healthy, and that this is something that she should do, and that she kind of wants to do, but she's not there yet. So I don't know.
There's another thing. When she was in utero, the diet was much better, and then when Katya was born, there was a lot less finances. for healthier foods.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference because the brain is forming inside, and those patterns of what food is eaten creates already starting neurons. So a baby is starting to be made like 7 years before the parents even get together, you know? And so, and then really important is from conception to, birth. It's all important, like from the first day, like the mother's got to be chilling, the diet makes a difference because the organism is prepared for the environment that it's going to come into. So hopefully the moms are starting to learn how to eat fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
Karen.
Yeah, and also at the very beginning, a lot of parents think that they can eat whatever they want in front of the infant and young child, and that the child isn't going to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been shown that the most important time of memory for the child for food imprinting, what the child is going to eat for the rest of his or her life, is from 9 to 18 months.
Yeah. That's what most of us, we don't realize that. And then the parents are, do as I say, not as I do. We must be the exemplary parents, and your children will be as you are. And so we need to step up our game. The parents watching this video need to step up their game. Is it easy? Am I saying, oh, it's just start eating fruits tomorrow? No, I'm just saying that start moving in that direction, because for a lot of us, I mean, it took me 14 years, and even in the last couple weeks, my game's just shot up. Like my ability to look at that food and go, I mean, I love it. Oh, it's raw, but what am I going to feel like tomorrow? And it's like, it's just not worth it. I have to live this goal of mine that I have. And so you won't reach your goals unless you do what's necessary to achieve those goals, And so we just have to work slowly but surely, educating, inspiring, sharing, making it into fun. Having little, Natea and I haven't connected so much on food because over the last week, she would have more of the gourmet stuff and I've been more on the fruit. But now, after this, you might see that let's have a watermelon party. You don't need a nice big watermelon. Half of a giant watermelon here is all you need. It's a meal and you're done. And now go play. See what I mean? So connecting over the healthier foods, it's kind of a mess because, the mom wants one thing, the 14-year-old daughter wants another, the 16-year-old daughter wants another, and dad wants another. But if you're crazy like me, you have enough energy to make it all work. Most people don't, 'cause I love it. I'll go in the kitchen and say, what do you want? What do you want? And in an hour, I'll come out with everybody what they want, But that's just one of the things that I love, like gourmet and raw food and cooked food.
A lot of parents are lazy, though. A lot of parents are tired, they're lazy.
Why? Because they don't live this way. The fruits and the vegetables are the foods that pass through without obstructing the energy flow. So it's for everybody. The fruits and vegetables are for teens, they're for children, they're for babies, they're for adults, they're for grandparents. Fruits and vegetables are the foods that provide the water, the fiber, the minerals, the vitamins, the condensed sunlight, the electromagnetic properties, the sugars that pass through the body without leaving behind the residues which lead to disease conditions. It's so simple, but the programming is so deep that I'll have to make videos probably till I die. And maybe a few people will get it and that'll be enough. But 100 years from now, it'll be like, that dude was way ahead of his time. Can you dig it? Because they're all going to come to the conclusion.
Great.
We're all going to, you can't deny it. 40 years young, just more alive than even when I was 25 or 18.
How's your eyesight?
My eyesight is perfect. I can look at an eagle, he's looking at me from 2 miles away. My hearing is perfect. My body is highly functioning. There's some stuff, there's some regeneration of the brain and nerves that come from my mom and what was going on at that time and my bad habits as a young person, starting as a teenager. So don't do drugs, teenagers, because it is not worth it, because then you got to go through this. Well, it'll be worth it in the end, because I've had to fight harder and learn more and dig deeper and research more and try and put effort into this thing of health than probably the average person would, because of the condition of my nerves from birth. And so to regenerate my nerves is the next level, because I've got, this is the organovegetative system. That's pretty easy. Fruits, vegetables, high water foods. They go in, they absorb, you clean the villi, you keep everything absorbing. If you eat the pasty grains and the dead meats, the villi are going to slap up against the wall, the mucoid plaque is going to form, your absorption is going to be terrible, and you're going to have to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. You're still going to be hungry after your stomach is bloated because the villi aren't absorbing anything. But if they're clean and you're absorbing the sugars and the minerals from the watermelon as it passes by, they're going to absorb, it's going to go into the blood, feed the brain, nourish the fluids. You're going to be flexible and washing away all those metabolic debris that build up into disease conditions. It's pretty freaking epic. So that's the organovegetative system. But now the brain and the nerves, some people can, I eat meat and I feel fine. Well, yeah, your mom and your dad probably had a good, strong, hardy constitution and a good nervous system. But a lot of us, we were just born under conditions of like drug use and fear, and our nerves just, and so we have to work a lot harder and push stronger. And the nervous systems are getting worse and worse as mankind evolves. So now we're going to be going down that road, and we want to take care of those two centers, which revolve around the loving heart and the breathing of the lungs. The lungs are the biggest, and they have their own like protective roll cage, right? Your lungs are your life. That's why when people are smoking and they're living in New York City, no, you're getting soot, debris, because the lungs are the #1 neutralizer of the acid wastes. So that's why when we run and walk and breathe, it's the best. Any other questions for Matea or myself?
So,
we'll keep going until someone says you got to get out.
Self-esteem and self-destruction. How do you deal with that?
Self-esteem?
Low self-esteem.
Oh,
Because I believe that all the wrong habits come from that, from low self-esteem.
Lack of love?
Self-love, yes.
it kind of like, it's taken a long time, because I know that I feel like I've picked up a lot of like insecurity from both my parents, because they've kind of struggled with that, and I think, you know, learning that and everything, but seeing them get better has helped me be like, oh, I can get better. And plus, just, I mean, learning to think positively about yourself. Like, for everything that you don't like about yourself, think of 2 things that you do like about yourself. And things like that. And I really have to train myself in that. I know a lot of times, like, I'm upset, and I know that I have ways to feel better. I consciously am like, you know, if I wanted to, I could relax, I could be in a good place again. But then the other part of me is like, no, I want to be angry and stuff, and I let myself be angry and let it fester. But I'm learning to stop doing that, and when I hear that, you know, if I wanted to be happy and get over this, I would. And then I do, and I watch Vines or something and I laugh, or I just do something, or I go for a run, or, you know, and exercise is so therapeutic, and a lot of people don't really get that. They see it more as like, oh, exercise to look nice, and not all its internal benefits and how it makes you feel and everything.
So as you watch your mom and I heal ourselves, it helps you to realize that you can heal yourself.
Yeah.
That's probably the best point of the whole video for the parents. Yeah. To start healing yourself. I know you're hurt. Who in here has never felt pain? No hand raisers? Come on. Okay, so, you know, that's
like a real genetics. That's what it is, the lifestyle of your parents and great-grandparents.
I think she's very mature, very, very extraordinary.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You had a question?
Yeah, for Dan, you say that grains are worse than meats. How come there's like people that give up meat and eat grains and like heal these diseases?
They might have had meat-produced diseases, but now they're going to be producing other diseases. Like the grains are more rapid on the deterioration. because there actually is more earthy sediment in grains than there are in meat. But the meat has the acids, so the grains develop diseases more rapidly, like cooked white bread, white rice, and there's even toxins, and there's even alkaloids in potatoes, which work as kind of like a drug on the body. I know this. Potatoes was one of my last things to go. When I get stressed out, I'd eat potatoes, but it would bring me it would just drug me up, basically. But the grains work more rapidly, and they leave behind a lot of mucus, and they really can clog up the kidneys quite rapidly. And so, but the meat is much more of a slow and painful death. Like pussy, fermentation, putrefaction, tumors and boils and acid, like just arthritis and stuff as the acids build up, and I ate meat, and the grains are more just, the grains just clog up the microcapillaries, and then your hair falls out more rapidly because they're mineral depleted foods.
What would you say about Asians live on grains? Like, what do you say about that? Because that was my thing when I was listening to Harley say, the Asians live off of grains. I was like, wow, they really live a long life. Why don't I do that diet?
Well, they live off a lot of vegetables too.
Okay, so that was my thinking. So maybe you want to talk about
Well, most of us really don't live in China, so we don't really know what they eat.
Okinawa's, their diet is 70% sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes are a kind of a different story, actually. Sweet potatoes, if you're going to bake something and cook it, sweet potatoes are definitely at the top of the list.
Better than potatoes.
Far better. At least 5 times better sweet potatoes than white potatoes.
A lot of vitamin A.
Yeah, and so, the yams are just different. And I only say that intuitively, and also just the sugars in there, and there's less of the toxic alkaloids than there are in the potatoes. But the white foods, they're just mineral depleted. The other thing about so many of the Asian cultures, you're talking probably more of the suburban cultures, they breathe a lot more fresh air. You go into the inner cities, you're going to find the same stuff going on as we've got in the inner cities, breathing the crappy air. They're living a country lifestyle, and they're also eating much more leafy greens. And it's the minerals, 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 minerals. At the end of the day, it's the minerals that create the conductivity and allow any type of acidity to be neutralized and eliminated. The acidity of stress, the acidity of the air, the acidity of any of the foods that leave the acid residues, and the acidity of exercise even is neutralized. That's why athletes need to eat more. They don't need to eat more to build up the cells, because the cells are going to replicate due to the pressure that's put on them by the resistance. But the athletes need to neutralize the acids that are built up after a long workout. The world's going to find out that the cells replicate themselves through electromagnetic energy, but that's eating for enlightenment. So if y'all want to hear about that, we're going to go in deep about what we really are. We are beings of light, and I will have a debate with anybody, and I will win, because you cannot tell me where we begin and God stops. Does it stop? Does God stop here? Did God just go into me? Did God just come out of me? The answer is obviously yes. And if you don't like that word, you can use the quantum field, or the electromagnetic energy, or the vitality of life, or anything that you want, word you want to use. But
breatharian.
What's that?
Breatharian.
Yeah, breatharian.
Is that what you're aiming for, like
No.
centrally, or no?
No, I'm aiming to learn how to love you perfectly
Awesome.
at all times.
All right.
I don't even know if that's possible, but to be love and to be a superconductor of divine energy, so that if I walk into this room, then you are elevated and you leave a better person. I want to be silently uplifting you with my thoughts, my emotions, and what I've allowed myself to become by realizing it through the work of staying awake and being present and observing myself, so that I can be honest and real and true and remember divine love at all times, and then make decisions based on that, and simplify, and need and want less. The less that you want, the closer that you are to to being a God. And the gods need nothing. They're whole and complete within themselves. Imagine that, all of us in here, if all of our wanting went away. Oh, what a relief that would be to the wantingness of the heart. And then the sadness that comes when you don't get it. Or the sadness that comes when that is threatened. Like your relationship, or your finances, or your job, or any other thing that you value is threatened because you have that as an identity, as a wantingness. And then there's all the fear that arises. And then there's the shutting down and the opening up and the shutting down. And we just want to stay open. Oh, if I lose the job? I mean, we want to be able to lose our job and know instantaneously, before we've even walked out the door and got our last check, that we already know a better job is already, we have it. We already have the better job. It's more money, and it's going to be more fun, because that's how it is. It progresses. It loves us so much. We only have to allow the love to do what it wants to do in our lives. And it'll make a better job, and it'll bring a better relationship, and you'll make more money, and you'll have better health. But that is why faith is so important, and the relinquishment of the wantingness. And I'm not saying that I'm there yet either, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that for me, it's always like this. I get the knowledge, I observe it, I contemplate it, I look for the truth in it, and then I see it arise in my experience. So you gather the data, and then you create the intention, and then that intention cleanses everything in the way of that intention becoming possible. In other words, there's infinite, and then with your own mind you collapse the wave function and turn things into reality. You can be the first one to build a floating house in the middle of the ocean if you want, if that's your dream, or you can be the first one to break the mile record, or whatever it is you want to do. You have the power to create that intention, collapse the wave function, and bring that here onto Earth. So that's what you are, is the creative. You are creation, and that's what makes us feel the best. That's why I like the YouTube videos. That's my chance. I mean, my voice is my paintbrush. My word, the words that I use, the concepts and the skills and the love that I have for raw foods and things that are only going to make a difference to the people that are going to allow it to make a difference to, you know. But eating healthy is freaking awesome, because look at her skin after 3 days of relinquishing the crackers, and it was all raw for the most part. I think you and Sophie had a little bit of cooked food, but even the steamed vegetables are better than like the combinations that are fermenting and stuff like that. But the fruits, the coconuts, God's foods, nature's foods, mineral rich, amazing stuff. Just that's step one. Stop killing yourself, and then you'll realize what you really are, and it'll just become so freaking amazing. You won't know what to do with it all. Yes, sir.
How about B12 vitamins for teenagers and young adults?
Yeah, B12. I mean, I think that you have to have a healthy GI tract. And if you're fermenting and rotting, it doesn't matter if you eat meat or if you're a vegan or a vegetarian. If things aren't working down here, you're not going to produce the B12. B12 is formed in the last half of the colon, and then when you poop, it goes down into the ground where you're living as an animal, and it goes up and onto the food, and you eat it, and then you absorb it from the top end. But since we have the toilets, and we're not like that, you know, the deer and the cow and the horse and the giraffe and the cheetah and everybody, well, I don't know about what the cheetah trip is, but more the vegetarian, vegan types. It's poop, it goes to the B12, boom, it spreads around, and there's that bacteria that gets absorbed from the top end. So you don't want to eat poop though, you know what I'm saying? And we got toilets, so we're just out of the loop. But so healthy, that's why we leave a little bit of dirt on our beets. You know what I mean? You leave that's why Lou changed my whole life. Lou Corona, he's like, I haven't rinsed a fruit or vegetable in 40 years. So I was like, really? And it's like, you know, if there's mud on the cilantro, you wash it off. But if there's a bug, you knock it off with your hand. But that changed me a lot. He's like, I haven't rinsed a fruit or vegetable in 40 years. Because he lived off the land, and he knew that some dirt and bacteria, pollen, falling on the stuff, you want that. That creates your earth ecosystem down in here. You want earth. You want to be attached to the earth with a little bit of dirt and some healthy bacteria and stuff. But the fermentation, the putrefaction, the viruses, the candida that comes from undigested sugars and grains, the fermentation of the grains into alcohol, which kind of like, sometimes the grain eaters are alcoholics that don't even know it, because the grains ferment. You over carbo load on those grains, they ferment and it gets you drunk. You can test this out on yourself if you want. I've already had enough of the experiments that I don't want it. I want to stay clean, sober, awake, alive, present. I don't want to stuff myself full of food. I don't even, that's one of the differences I have. Yes, I love fruits and vegetables, but do I really need to eat until I'm bloated? No, I don't.
Grains actually, I've noticed like every time, even stuff that they say is like gluten-free and everything, it's like, because the proteins are so, they're like almost identical to gluten anyway, and it just, I break out so bad. And so for me, like, testing the waters with what's healthy, what's not, I kind of use my face as like a guinea pig.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
exactly
that's the
what
gauge.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, depending on
Is
like,
it fairly instant?
it's typically like the next day. It really is.
I had jungle peanuts once, raw wild jungle peanuts, and I broke out for a month. And then I had to go I did a DVD cover, Breeding Healthy Beautiful Skin, and there's all the zits on my head. I'm like, God, and I never ate jungle peanuts after that.
Those are peanuts?
Jungle peanuts, the wild jungle peanuts. I thought, oh, these are wild jungle peanuts from David Wolf's company. Still, and
Don't they
because
still have that aflatoxin? They're still
yeah. I mean, you get to a point where you realize the high water fruits are at the top echelon. The vegetables are down there secondary because you love to chew on stuff, and the chlorophyll is really nice. And they're also more concentrated in the minerals. If we had better fruit, we could potentially be fruitarians. But for most people, they're going to be able to stay much more balanced with the fruit and the green juices. That's why I say, like, if you're trying to heal yourself of a disease or get rid of the skin problems or the obesity or the diabetes, the chronic fatigue, the headaches, and all the others, there's only one disease, folks, and that is the obstruction to the flow of energy. So how do you get it out of you? Wash, 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 flush, cleanse, heal, digest it, move it out of there, breathe it away. Breath cleanses, the water cleanses, minerals neutralize the acidity and allow it to be neutralized and flushed out of the system. And you don't need to have diseases. You go to your doctor and you get a little pill. That's just going to make things worse in the long run because you're not addressing the underlying problem. And so many of the health issues, aside from the ones that arise from mental issues, but a lot of the mental issues are cleared up. 50% of schizophrenics from gluten. It just messes up your head. It just doesn't, these foods have such a profound effect.
I used to have thoughts or a song in my head looping all the time when I was a meat eater. It just kept looping and looping and looping. I couldn't get out of it. And when I stopped eating meat, I never had those loopy thoughts, you know? Started getting a little bit on grains, but not as much as grains and meat. I'm sorry, I lost my voice. It's very hard to talk. But I noticed that was a really big deal to me. And it woke me up about the foods that were dead. And my brain wasn't functioning in a normal way. It was going around and around. And it would keep me up at night. And it would stop me from thinking clearly. So.
Food, the vibrational, subtle electromagnetic energy in the food is the subtle quality that feeds the electromagnetics of the brain. You know, the vibration feeds the brain, the minerals feed the body, the water feeds the body, and then there's the fiber is just the sweeper. You see what I mean? So you eat an orange, the fiber sweeps and it latches onto the yesterday's stuff and cleans it out of there. The water feeds the body, and the electromagnetic energy feeds the brain. This is the subtle thing that not too many people understand. So if you want to eat a cheeseburger and then you want to be happy and the most potential for you to succeed, most of the health educators, or not health educators, but just successful people, they at least touch on diet and recognize You know, they might not become dietitian experts, but they try to eat their morning smoothie or go vegetarian. You know, the guys that are the financial guys, relationship dudes, anybody who's going to have success is going to look at the fact that diet affects life. And if you want to go to the top echelons of radiance and illumination and connectedness to the universe, then the cleaner, more pure that you are, the better vehicle you're going to be to express that light through your eyes, through your heart, through your electricity that's coming off your nerves, and you're going to uplift all the ships on the ocean of consciousness.
Yeah. But the most difficulty that people are getting to shift the paradigm meat to the raw vegan is always, I believe, and at least that's what it was for me, it's how you value yourself. So shifting to a healthy eating and clean eating, feeling better is because you start to value yourself better.
Yeah, and so really that's why fruits, vegetables, and love.
Because yes, the point for me, for example, is it's not only about what you eat, what you don't eat, but that it's not a struggle anymore. That it's easy, it's natural. That you go and reach for the right food. You're not going to go, you open your fridge and you know you didn't stuff with food that you should not eat.
Because you love yourself 24
Exactly.
hours a day, 7
Exactly.
days a week.
You go to a supermarket and say, this is not my food, this is not my food, this is not my food. But in the beginning, I didn't do it. I said, okay, I'm not having it, but and then you feel guilty and you go on that crazy trip.
You want to work on the diet and the self-love at the same
exactly.
time.
So diet helps you, like I told you yesterday when I did that pineapple, cilantro, coconut juice, I was enlightened for 1 minute maybe that I could hold that energy. But it was amazing.
Went right to your head, huh?
It was amazing. I said, what is this? This is like a miracle, really, true miracle. And I gave it to my neighbor, because he is vegan but still cooked vegan. And when he drank that juice, it was like about 10 o'clock in the evening, he knocked back my door and he said, Maria, what did you give me? I said, liquid gold, honey, liquid gold. That's all there
Liquid
is.
life.
Yes.
So the fruits and vegetables for teens, making a big difference for Natea. Thank you for your help today, Natea.
And because there's also juice and juice, Some juices are heavier on you. But if you truly say, okay, today I want to love myself, I have never did in my life, okay? So I'm going to go for the purest, the cleanest, the freshest ingredient that I can find.
Purest, cleanest, freshest.
Yes. And it's just amazing. It works miracles.
Purest, cleanest, freshest works miracles.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Thank you, Natea. Peace be with you all.
I watched your video.
We love you.